This is section 2, pre-grip 101. Alright. Okay. Section 2 starts right here with your tractor frame and cross members. Tractor frame and cross members are not bent, cracked, or broken. Has no missing nuts, bolts, or cross members. There are no welds or holes other than factory. Down here you got your drive shaft. Drive shaft is not bent, cracked, or twisted. Up here we got our air lines and electrical lines on the back of the tractor. Red one is the emergency line, blue is the service, green is the electric. These lines are not cut, cracked, dry rot, or bulging. I see no sign of electrical damage. They are properly secured to my tractor. I hear no leaks. Out here, my air lines and electrical lines are not tangled or pinched or dragging any of the tractor parts. Out here, I have my glad hands. Glad hands are not bent, cracked, or broken, and they are locked in place. Right here, I have the electrical plug. It is firmly seated and locked in place. That thing right there locked it in place. Next, we're going to do the trailer face and header board. Trailer face and header board see no holes, cracks, bulges, or missing rivets. Then we're going to come down here and start with the suspension. Alright, now all I'm going to do is what I can see and touch right here. So first thing we have is spring mount, front and back, and right here in the middle I have my U-bolts. So spring mount and U-bolts are not bent, cracked, or broken, no missing nuts and bolts. Leaf springs. Leaf springs are not bent, cracked, or broken. They're properly aligned, not missing more than 1/4 of a leaf. So now that's all I'm going to do in my suspension right here. I'll finish it when I go around the tire. So we'll start our brake system. On the brake system, we got our brake hoses. They are not cut, cracked, dry rot, or bulging. I hear no leaks. Got the brake chambers and locking rings. Each one of these have 2 locking rings. So brake chambers and locking rings are not bent, cracked, or broken. No missing nuts and bolts, and I hear no leaks. Alright, so now then, next thing we're going to do is the slack adjuster and push rod. Slack adjuster and push rod is located right here behind the brake chamber. So my slack adjuster and push rod right here is not bent, cracked, or broken. No missing nuts and bolts, setting at a 90-degree angle. With the brakes off, cannot pull it out more than 1 inch. And the cotter pin is intact. Next we're going to do the brake lining. Brake lining in here is not dangerously thin. See no oil or grease. Right outside the brake lining is brake drum. It is not bent, cracked, or broken. No welds other than factory, and I see no oil or grease. So that's the whole brake system. Come out. Gonna do the tires, dry tires. These tires are at proper pressure. Check with their pressure gauge. There are no cut, crack, dry rot, or bulging of the sidewalls. There's no uneven tread wear. Valve cap and stems are not missing, broken, or damaged. Tread depth is no less than 2/32 of an inch. Tires are properly spaced with no debris between the tires. Then I have my inner and outer rims. They're not bent, cracked, or broken, no welds other than factory. The lug nuts and studs have no missing lug nuts and studs. See no sign of run and rust, which would indicate a loose lug nut. Here we have an axle seal. This axle seal is not bent, cracked, or broken. No missing nuts and bolts, and I see no leaks. And I have my mud flap and splash guard. Mud flap and splash guard is not missing or damaged. No missing nuts and bolts, and the DOT reflector tape runs the full length of the mud flap. Alright, now we'll finish up the suspension. Alright, finish up the suspension. I have airbag mounts, top and bottom. Airbag mounts top and bottom are not bent, cracked, or broken, no missing nuts and bolts. Airbags are not cut, cracked, dry rot, or bulging, and I hear no leaks. Right here between the tire and the frame, we have a shock absorber. Shock absorber is not bent, cracked, or broken, no missing nuts and bolts, and I see no leaks. Okay, that's all the suspension. Now we'll start on the coupling system. First thing on the coupling system is your release arm right here. The release arm is in the lock position, no missing nuts and bolts. Next thing you're going to do is the platform. Now the platform is the only part of the coupling system that is bolted to the frame of your truck. Everything else is mounted on the platform. Platform runs from right here all the way back to here. Now the platform is not bent, cracked, or broken. All mounting bolts, that's all these bolts through here and up here. All mounting bolts are in place, and the platform is securely mounted. Now, this truck does have a sliding fifth wheel. So right here, my locking pins are in the lock position, and the fifth wheel is positioned properly to where the frame of my tractor will clear the landing gear and the turn. Next thing we're going to do is the very top of the fifth wheel, which is called the skid plate. Fifth wheel skid plate is securely mounted. No missing nuts and bolts, and it is properly greased. Bottom of the trailer here is the apron. The apron is not bent, cracked, or broken. There is no space between the apron and the fifth wheel. Now we come underneath. Up inside the fifth wheel here, I have my locking jaws. These locking jaws are locked around the shank of the kingpin and not the head. The kingpin itself is not bent, cracked, or broken. That's all the coupling. Then right here we have our tail lights. Well, this truck don't have reflectors, but tail lights. They are red in color, they're clean, they're not chipped, cracked, or broken. Reverse light here is clear in color, clean, not chipped, cracked, or broken. So that's it for the tractor. Now everything else is on the trailer. So we'll start here with the landing gear. Landing gear is not bent, cracked, or broken. There's no missing nuts, bolts, or parts. The legs are in the fully raised position. There is no debris on the feet. And the crank handle here is in the stowed position. Next we got the side of the trailer. Side of the trailer, see no holes, cracks, bulges, or missing rivets. And we have our DOT reflector tape. It is not cracked or peeling, and it runs the full length of the trailer. Right here we have a reflector up here. Back here we have, this light is a marker light, turn signal, and reflectors, and we have another reflector. All these are amber in color. They're clean, they're not chipped, cracked, or broken. Next thing we're going to do is the trailer frame and cross members. Trailer frame and cross members. See no cracks, no broken welds, no holes, or other damage to the frame, cross members, box, or floor. Alright. Come back here. Have my sliding tandem release arm, which this one don't have a release arm, it's got a release button. Put on the sliding tandem. First thing we have is our locking pins right here. They're in the lock position. Now you can tell them this release button is secure, or you can tell them it is controlled by air. I hear no leaks. You can tell them either one. Now we'll start the suspension. This trailer has air suspension. So on air suspension right here we have a torque mount. Right here we have a torque arm. So torque mount, torque arm, they're not bent, cracked, or broken, no missing nuts and bolts. On under here, we have our airbag mounts, top and bottom. Airbag mounts, top and bottom, are not bent, cracked, or broken, no missing nuts and bolts. Airbags are not cut, cracked, dry rot, or bulging, I hear no leaks. Also have shock absorbers. Shock absorbers are not bent, cracked, or broken, no missing nuts and bolts, and I see no leaks. So that's all the suspension. So right here we have our brake hoses. They're not cut, cracked, dry rot, or bulging, I hear no leaks. Got my brake chambers and locking rings. Brake chamber and locking rings are not bent, cracked, or broken, no missing nuts and bolts, and I hear no leaks. Right here I have my slack adjuster and push rod. Slack adjuster and push rod is not bent, cracked, or broken, no missing nuts and bolts. Sits at a 90-degree angle with the brakes off, cannot pull it out more than 1 inch. And the cotter pin is intact. Here I have my brake lining. Brake lining is not worn dangerously thin, see no oil or grease. Brake drum, not bent, cracked, or broken. No welds other than factory, see no oil or grease. So that's everything under here. Back out, got trailer tires. These tires are at proper pressure, checked with a pressure gauge. No cut, crack, dry rot, or bulging of the sidewalls. No uneven tread wear. Valve cap and stem. Well, you gotta find the other. It's in here somewhere. Well, 2 of them. Valve cap and stems are not missing, broken, or damaged. Tread depth, no less than 2/32 of an inch. Tires are properly spaced with no debris between the tires. Got inner and outer rims. They're not bent, cracked, or broken, no welds other than factory. Lug nuts and studs, no missing lug nuts and studs. See no sign of running rust, which would indicate a loose lug nut. Hub oil seal. Hub oil seal is not bent, cracked, or broken. No missing nuts and bolts. Fluid is at the proper level, and I see no leaks. Now I got 2 axles. So what I tell them, I do this axle, same procedure as I done this one. Right here we have a mud flap. This mud flap is not missing or damaged. No missing nuts and bolts. That's all you got to say on that. ABS light. ABS light is amber in color. It is clean and is not chipped, cracked, or broken. Right here I have a marker light. Have my tail lights. Have my clearance lights and my ID lights. All these lights are red in color. They're clean, they're not chipped, cracked, or broken. Here I have my trailer doors. My trailer doors and hinges are not bent, cracked, or broken. No missing nuts, bolts, or hinges. They open and close and latch properly from the outside. Right here I have my door handles and my door ties. My door handles and ties are not bent, cracked, or broken. No missing nuts, bolts, or parts. Here I have DOT bumpers, my DOT reflector tape on bumper. Any questions? Okay, so you can tell them you do this side, same procedure you done the other side, but you don't have to tell them.
The door ties, that's the only one where you say no missing parts.
That and your landing gear.
And the landing gear. Okay.
No missing nuts, bolts, or parts. Alright, so now then, we're ready to do the end cap. Alright?
Alright.
So we'll go up and do the end cap. Okay. Now we're gonna pretend like the tires are chalk. All right.
That's out your way.
Okay. Look, y'all get in on the other side.
Oh yeah.
Get in. Shut the door. All right. Now I'm gonna start my end cap. The first thing I want to do is I'm gonna adjust my seat for me. I'm gonna check, make sure my mirrors are adjusted for me. My God, somebody like to sit up straight. Check, make sure my mirrors are adjusted for me. Then I'm gonna put my seat belt on. My seat belt is not ripped or frayed. Not ripped or frayed. Has no missing nuts and bolts. And it latches properly. Next thing I'm gonna do is a safe start. I'm gonna reach over here and verify that my brake valves are applied. I'm gonna depress my clutch, make sure my truck is in neutral. I'm gonna turn the key on. Now this is the only time you'll see this light. Turn the key on. Right here, my ABS light has illuminated, and now it has gone off. Now I gotta wait on my gauges to cycle. There they go. They cycle to the right, back to the left. Now I'll start the engine. I'll slowly release the clutch. Now we'll start the gauges. Right here I have my temperature gauge. The temperature gauge will build to the proper temperature and will not be overheated. Up here I have my oil pressure gauge. Oil pressure gauge is built to the proper level within seconds of starting the engine. Right here is digital on this truck, my voltmeter. Voltmeter should be charging between 12 and 14 volts. Here I have my air pressure gauges, primary and secondary. They will build to the max of 100 to 125 psi. That's all the gauges. Next we're going to do our light indicators. What you're going to see on the dash. So the first one right here, my right turn signal is working. My left turn signal is working. My four-way flashers are working. My high beam indicator is working. That's all in. Next you got your city horn. Highway horn, they both work. Next thing I'm going to do is my windshield. The windshield is not chipped, cracked, or broken. It is clean, no obstructions. Then we're going to do the rubber seal around the windshield. The rubber seal is not cut, cracked, dry rot, or missing. And I see no sign of leaks. Next we're going to do the windshield wipers. The windshield wipers are not bent, cracked, or broken. No missing nuts and bolts. They function, and my washer fluid also functions. Just use the bottom button, push it in, and hold it. That works. And that, you let go, turn itself off. Alright, so that's everything up there. Next thing we're going to do, we'll come down here, we're going to do my heat and defrost. Turn it over to defrost, turn the fan on, reach up here, my defroster is working. Turn it back to heat, reach down here, my heater is working. Now then the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to do some brake tests. I'm going to test my trailer brakes, I'm going to test my tractor brakes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my truck in first gear. I'm going to release my tractor brakes. I'm going to do a slight tug on the trailer brakes. They should not let the truck move. So ease out on the clutch. Do a little tug. Trailer brakes are working. So I pull the tractor valve back out. I release my trailer brakes. Now I want to do a tug on my tractor brakes. They should not let the truck move. Do the tug. Okay. Oh. tractor brakes are working. Now my air is all the way up, my truck's in first gear. So now then, I will start my air leakage. Now this is the only part of the pre-trip you cannot miss nothing on. Right? So my air is all the way up, my truck is in gear. I'll turn my engine off. I'll turn my key back on, but not start the engine. I will slowly release the clutch. Reach over here, I'm gonna release both tractor and trailer brakes and let my air stabilize. I've got the timer set for 1 minute. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my foot on the service brake, I'm gonna apply pressure, I'm gonna hold it for 1 minute, should not lose no more than 4 psi. Apply the pressure, start the timer. Now you gotta do the full minute. Long minute. Still got 30 seconds. Okay, I held my brakes for 1 minute, did not lose no more than 4 psi. Now what I want to do is check my low air warning light and buzzer. To do this, I'm going to fan the brakes. When the pressure drops down to 60 psi, the light and buzzer should come on. So we'll fan the brake. Alright, light and buzzer come on at 60 psi. Now what I want to do is continue to fan my brakes. And when the pressure drops down between 20 and 40 psi, my trailer and tractor valve should both pop out. So we fan the brakes, keep eye on the yellow valve. One's out. Come on out there.
Stubborn.
Huh?
Stubborn.
There one.
Huh?
So
Finally. Okay, now they've both popped out. Now what I want to do is a safe restart of my engine. So I will depress my clutch. I'll make sure my truck is back in neutral. I'll start the engine. See, now you're not supposed to touch them, but I know they popped out.
right.
So I'll start the engine. I'll slowly release my brake. Now that right there concludes my air leakage. So now what I want to do is use the accelerator, get my air back up to about 60 psi where I get the light and buzzer off. Once I get that light and buzzer off, I will take my seatbelt off, use my 3 points of contact, get out and remove the chalk to make my wheel. I will get back in and put my seatbelt back on, using my 3 points of contact, get back in. notice on these trucks, the primary will always build up to about 100 pounds before the secondary ever starts moving. When that secondary comes up to 60, that's when your light burns. When the secondary gets up to 100, then they will both build progressively up at the same time. Okay, pressure come back up, air light and buzzer went off. Now take the seatbelt off, we'll get out and remove the choke. Use the 3 points of contact, get back in, put the seatbelt back on, make sure my air pressure's all the way up. Now what I'm going to do is the service brake test. Do the service brake test, I will put my truck in 3rd gear. A little bit of pressure on the brake pedal, I reduce both tractor and trailer brake. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the tractor going forward 3 to 5 miles an hour. I'm going to press my clutch, use my foot on the service brake, make sure it brakes my truck to a stop. Make sure it does not turn left or right. So, we'll do service brake. Okay, brought my truck to a stop, did not turn left or right. Right here, I'll put it in neutral, I'll pull the brake, and this is where I'd ask the examiner to get out and help me check my outside lights. Turned all my lights on, they walk up front, high beam, put it back on low.
Plus,
Right turn signal, left turn signal, 4-way flashes. Alright, now check my clearance lights, ID lights. They walk back here behind the trailer. They walk back here behind the trailer. I tell them my left turn signal, my right turn signal, my 4-way flashers, off, and my brake lights. Also, if they won't do it, I'll tell them my reverse light. Okay, then walk back to the back of the trailer, same thing, right turn signal, left turn signal, 4-way flashers, brake light. Check all the lights, marker lights, clearance lights, all that. Then walk back up, get in the truck, tell me all my lights are working. Tell them now that concludes my prescription stuff. Any questions?